Hello and welcome to yet another video on Total War Warhammer 3. Today we are going over the Khorne full roster breakdown. So quite like Kislev, Khorne has just announced their full roster that they will be bringing into Warhammer 3, and again this is making my Khorne roster video totally out of date. Nevertheless, I'm here to once again break down every single unit in the roster and compress this whole page of reading into bite-sized chunks for every unit. Also, I'd just like to clarify, a lot of people have been worried that the Kislev roster looked quite small, and I'm guessing looking at the Khorne roster that a lot of people are going to say the same thing, but we have to bear in mind that the base factions for Warhammer 2, like the High Elves and Dark Elves, have been added to with free LCs, so of course they're going to be bigger now than the Kislev roster is, and when they launch, they were probably about the same size, so don't worry about that, they will surely get up to size in the coming years. Now let's get into the units, starting of course with the legendary lord of the faction, Skarbrand. As you may know, he was one of the most dedicated of the Khorne demons, to the point that he fell into a prideful rage that led him to strike Khorne, which wasn't really taken too kindly. Khorne himself literally strangled the personality out of Skarbrand, and he's now a being of pure rage that is still somehow dedicated to Khorne. He's a behemoth energy to contend with, and is nearly impervious to damage of most forms, including magic. He's constantly on the warpath, and I'd wager gets bonuses for getting into wars and seeing them to the end. Perhaps he even gets stronger the more factions he wipes out. He has the ability Wrathful Reaper that gives him a singular focus in battle to kill until there is nothing left. He also has the Rage Embodied ability that inspires his allies to aid him and join in the battle even if it leads them to death. Now onto our generic lords. The Exalted Bloodthirster. We met him in the first gameplay of Warhammer 3. They're the deadliest of the Khorne demons and some of the mightiest warriors in all of demonkind. They are second only to Skarbrand in their ability to create violence and death wherever they go. To put it into as few words as possible, they can fly, they can kill nearly anything, they are insanely tough, and they are absolutely bloody terrifying. The Herald of Khorne is next up. This is a unit that I actually guessed would be a hero when we first saw it, since it looks a little too tiny to lead an army of Khorne, but that just shows you that I really don't know anything. Anyway, they are the most elite of all the Bloodletters and inspire nearby troops to join them in battle and only get stronger as they kill more and more. They have the choice of two mounts. First is the Juggernaut, a massive creature made from iron and brass that is as likely to score kills from charging and goring as it is from trampling under its huge mass. The other choice is a Blood Throne. These are powerful demonic engines clad in brass armor and literally run on the blood of their enemies. If someone has a tasty looking skull, it is fed to the inner workings to grant renewed vigor, possibly in the form of regeneration. Either way, the more this thing kills, the more deadly it becomes. Now for the heroes, we first have the Cultist of Khorne. These are an odd addition since from what I can see, they don't really have anything demonic about them and just seem to be dudes that are really into Khorne. They seem to specialise in spreading the corruption of Khorne across the world in a more clandestine way than you would typically expect of Khorne. Make no mistakes, they can still throw down when they need to and are basically one step down from being Chaos Champions. They also have the choice of taking a Chaos Steed as their mount. Our other heroes are the Blood Reapers. These are Bloodletters that have proven their devotion and are some of the most deadly individual fighters in the Khorne lines. They are not too dissimilar from Bloodletters, as they still use a Hellblade that only becomes more powerful as they kill more enemies, so they will only get stronger as the battle progresses. They also have the same mount choices as the Heralds of Khorne, of the Juggernaut and the Blood Throne. Now we come to the actual units, starting with the Melee Infantry and the Chaos Warriors of Khorne. Shocking that these are the lowest tier infantry we are seeing here, since they are still heavily armoured, and even one Chaos Warrior can take on several of even the best trained men in the mortal world. They are literally living weapons whose sole purpose is to slaughter, without care for food, drink, sleep, or self-preservation. They of course come in three variants like we saw in the gameplay: Axe and Shield for general combat and line holding, Dual Axes for improved anti-infantry performance, and Halberds for some anti-large utility. Like many Khorne units, these guys slip into a frenzy when they are in battle and they feel confident. Bloodletters of Khorne are next. Of course, we also saw these in the OG gameplay, but they are still a super cool unit. They are the embodiment of blood and war and are believed to be the most devoted followers in mortal life that have now found themselves as horrific demons. They are excellent versus infantry with great damage that only gets better the more kills they get due to their Hellblades. As they are demonic units, they do not have traditional leadership, but will instead start to disintegrate if they lose enough, which works just like the vampire counts, meaning you will lose the whole unit if you aren't careful. They also come in a second variety of Exalted Bloodletters, which are basically bigger, badder, and scarier versions of the regular dudes. Pretty much the same, just with some better stats. Interestingly, we are told that they come later in the tech tree, so we could be seeing units being locked behind research this game, or they could just be talking about building trees. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see for that one. Now we come to the Cav and Chariots, starting with the Gorebeast Chariot of Khorne. Pulled by a singular Gorebeast, these units are larger than other Chaos Chariot units, so what they lack in speed, they make up for in stopping power. These chariots and their riders are almost constantly in frenzy from the thrill of the hunt, which means better attacking, but they also kind of forget to defend themselves, so tend to be a little bit squishy. They're also the cheapest option of Khorne Cav, so will drop off and start to get melted soon into the campaign. Next up we have the Blood Crushers of Khorne. These are basically those bloodletters riding on massive juggernauts, which makes them into a devastating shock cavalry, mainly due to the massive size and weight of the units. They want to use their momentum to break through enemy units, both front lines and back, to assist their front lines where possible. Of course, they are still demonic units, so will still suffer these same problems as bloodletters if they run out of leadership, but just keep them confident and you needn't worry. Our final cav units are the Skull Crushers of Khorne. These are similar units but are instead ridden by Knights of Khorne instead of bloodletters. They are pretty much the same but with a better charge bonus due to them using lancers rather than the Hellblades. This means they are the best shock cavalry in the roster and I really need to get to practicing my micro. Next up we have what I would say is the most exciting section, the monsters and beasts. First up, we have Chaos Warhounds. These are pretty much the same unit that we have in the game right now, available for the Norscan campaign and Warriors of Chaos. They are super fast and great versus anything that doesn't have any leadership or melee prowess, like weak ranged infantry or something that's retreating, since their small size allows them to get in there and shred whatever they find. You know and you love these units if you've used them, and if you haven't, then definitely give the Warriors of Chaos a go and you'll understand. Chaos Furies of Khorne are next. These are kind of like beefier harpies, but still function pretty much the same. They aren't really your main fighting monsters, and are instead best used to pick off single isolated units such as ranged infantry. They're of course super fast due to their ability to fly, and of course come with Vanguard deployment to get on the enemy that bit sooner. They will be used on all the Chaos rosters, but the Khorne variants are granted extra spell resistance and a more powerful charge when compared to other gods. Fleshhounds are next, and they are kinda like beefed up Warhounds. They are super fast across any terrain and excel at hunting down specific units rather than taking on entire armies. They will be more capable at taking on higher tier enemies than Warhounds, but you will still want to focus primarily on the backlines and retreating units since it is the best use for their incredible speed. The Spawn of Khorne are next, and aside from it being fun to say, it's basically the Chaos Spawn but made to be Khorne-like, or as I like to say, Khornate. These are worshippers of Khorne that have been, quote, blessed with this transformation into vile and disfigured beasts made from more mutation than man. They are relentless fighters and have no regard for any life, even their own, and they will fight till the bitter end with no complaints. They are susceptible to getting out of control and going on a rampage, so you can send them into a clump of enemies and more or less forget about them. Finally, they can also attack siege gates, so feel no need to bring a battering ram, not that you would unless they get improved anyway. The Minotaurs of Khorne are next up, and they have a thunderous charge that will plough through even the toughest of foes with ease, and their subsequent blows aren't exactly any gentler. Their power increases with each kill as they feast on the flesh of their foes as they fight. That's a lot of Fs. They are armoured and do massive armour-piercing damage with no fear or self-preservation, much less the preservation of any other life. They also come in two variants, dual axes for general infantry shredding and great weapons for more armour-piercing and possibly anti-large damage if we're going off the Beastmen Minotaurs. The Soul Grinders of Khorne are next up, and Soul Grinders are the essence of fallen demons bound to a mighty metal hulk. They are huge but speedy creatures that can keep up with horses or faster once they get a sense for blood. They impact their enemies with incredible force and crush anything that is unfortunate enough to end up under their tracks. And they of course cause terror, because why wouldn't they? They also come equipped with ranged infantry they can fire on the move, so even have more utility outside of straight charging. They are stupid hard to kill due to their thick metal armor and multitude of resistances. Our final monster is the Bloodthirster that we have of course seen plenty of in the trailers and gameplay so far. These gigantic demons are true war machines capable of flight at incredible speeds and flaming attacks of unrivaled damage. They can take on anything from infantry to gates and everything in between, and are one of the largest and scariest units on any battlefield. They are of course incredibly tough, with brass armor literally forged onto their flesh by Khorne himself. Now we come to our final category of artillery and war machines, starting with the Blood Shrine of Khorne. This is a mobile altar that can be moved quickly to wherever the most blood is being spilt. It provides buffs to nearby allied units to increase blood production and gain the favour of Khorne. The exact buffs are increased morale for demons, so they will stay longer and get stronger while they do. They also function as a chariot, so can still spill plenty of blood on their own, and while it is in combat, it continuously heals, meaning it can also be very difficult to take down. Our final unit is of course the Skull Cannon. This is another unit that is deceptively fast and also a decent combatant, as it functions both as a cannon and a chariot should the need arise. Should it run out of ammo, it only needs to enter combat to harvest more skulls to load into the cannon, allowing it to fire even more devastating shots. They can also fire on the move, even at top speed, meaning nothing is really safe from its terrifying gaze. And that concludes the Khorne roster. Overall, it is of course focused on all-out combat since, well, you know, it's Khorne. And there are of course weaknesses that I'm sure you've noticed. They of course have no magic to speak of, they're very limited ranged units, and nothing really seems to be that cheap. So I think that this army will seem quite simple, but it will actually require quite a bit of nuance and micromanagement to use correctly, and I can't wait to have a go with them in the full game. I'd say my favourite unit out of the roster is for sure the Skull Cannon, because obviously, out of the units we've been introduced to today, I think the Fleshhounds look really exciting, especially since I love Warhounds so very much. Let me know down in the comments what is your favourite unit that has been revealed today. Thank you so very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video at any point, then please do consider leaving it a like, it really does help out a lot. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a video. I'd like to take this time to thank all supporters of the channel, in particular Kobe Said So and Nifty Norm. Your support at the Unclean Ones tier really is incredible and I cannot thank you enough. One more time, thank you so very much for watching, and for now, I've been COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I will see you next turn.